What is going on, guys and girls? It's the Short Bear, and today we're going to talk about the trades from the last week. We're going to start on Monday, and we're going to go through the whole week until we finish with Friday. So the whole week started with INO. Right, INO, I'm going to show you the chart right now, is a known ticker. Alright, it was one of the first names that popped up with CODX and so on when the whole coronavirus sector started running, right? It ran from $5 all the way to over 20 pre-market, failed at the open and crashed back down under 10. So this one I traded already. The difference between back then and now is basically we have different players, all right? Now that the panic and the panic kind of dissipated during that time, we see more kind of grinding action. So we're not seeing as much like impulsive moves right away. We're seeing more grind. We have bag holders from the first run. And something that changed as well is that new accounts opened up. All right, a lot of new accounts, a lot of new players are now buying stuff without researching it. So this one started running last week, all right, and we see this kind of grinding action where we pull back, we get bought up, we pull back, bought up, and so on, right? So on this day right here, which was last week, I started trading it, but I was talking about how this one actually didn't really pull back as much as I wanted to, and that they might have actually trapped. And when we saw the action after hours on this day, we saw that it started grinding back up. So this one, it trapped a lot of shorts, and then we started running. And on this day, let me try to show you guys. On this day, right here, let's put it up. Here, so this was the fading day. As you can see, we started bouncing a lot, right? We bounced a lot every time we got down. And on this day, we started gapping up, and then we trapped basically every single short that was here. We were, doing bigger volume than on the previous day. So what I thought would happen is we would start to go up basically, so higher, dumb money kind of chasing it. A lot of shorts get out, and then we see one last gap up to get all the shorts out, and the manipulators get the liquidity to start dumping, so to start selling the shares, and then the retail starts panicking, and that was this day. So what I did is I basically started in short. I covered some, trimmed some because it got higher than I expected it to. I expected a complete fail right away, but as soon as we started slamming back, I added share size, I added size into every single pop, covered into the first panic, waited for the next bigger bounce for me to get in, which we got basically as we bounced off of the green red line. Started adding, I thought we would roll over right here, which we didn't, but I was fine with it because I wanted more size up there. And as soon as we bounced, we started stuffing the breakout area right here. I started adding size. We pushed once more, so I trimmed some of my ads which were in here, but we stuffed more, so I added, covered into the panic, added more size and covered into the panic, the last panic with bigger volume near $13. All right, why $13? Well, because that is the area we started to push from. All right, right in here. This is the area that we kind of stopped at on this day as we built the resistance. On this day we found support, and then we started ripping off of that area on 24th. So that was basically the trade that I had on it to start off the week, right? So whoops, here. Let me pull out the second chart. Let's do it another way. All right, so the next one was Y10. All right, Y10 is a ticker I really wanted to trade on Monday as well, and I'm going to show you why. So Y10 on the daily chart, pretty much not the best ticker, right? So reverse stock split after reverse stock split, but this one actually doesn't really gap up too much and fades off of it. So a lot of the time we're going to see bigger runs that start without a gap, right? Like here, like here, like here, right? And like in the past, we saw a lot of that action. But actually, what was the most interesting about this one is that the filings weren't that great dilution-wise. So, and the locates were fairly available all over the place. So at every single brokerage firm, we had a lot of locates available. So I thought we might see a short squeeze on this one, which we ended up having, right? So started out in the morning. Let's pull it up. Right here as a normal kind of gap and crap setup for most people not researching the tickers, right? I kind of left it alone at that time, but as you can see, we started to curl right away. We did some bigger volume, basically breaking kind of the volume I was expecting, and then on the VWAP we started to trap. All right, a lot of people hitting the bids, but as you can see, the volume is pretty low on the VWAP, right? So we start reclaiming, doing some bigger volume. We hold VWAP, hold VWAP, hold VWAP, absorb, start moving higher, right? And that's when I was interested, because what I saw was, I think I can even pull it up here. Yeah, right there. We started curling, right, kind of an A, B, C, D pattern. So as soon as we started breaking out, and it proved to me that under VWAP we did no volume, no panic, started getting on the VWAP, but get bought up, bought up, bought up. I thought, all right, this one we trapped and we in the morning and we started running. So this one is going to be the same afterwards, right? So I started buying every single dip. And then as soon as we broke out on some big volume and some panic, I started selling. I bought the next dip, I sold some. Then I thought we might push 10, so I added more size, but as we stuffed 10, I sold everything. So very nice winner as well on Monday, on the long side this time, and that was it for Monday. On Tuesday, that was my only losing day of that specific on this specific day. And what happened on this one is Craig started running in the morning. I wanted it short, right? So I started shorting in here in the morning, and I covered it pretty much at the lows. So I think $1.90 to $2 was my average, and I kind of left it alone. I saw right away, a friend of mine told me the news was out. I saw the news. And I waited for an opportunity to hit it. So what I thought might happen is we start, to push. So no pullback from $2 all the way to $3, and we get all the liquidity, the stops, and we pushed back down at least to 240-ish at the previous resistance area, which is now support. So as soon as we did that, pushed, I covered some, but I couldn't get out of everything, and it pushed within a few seconds. I had big size on it, and I got squeezed out. So that was a loss. On the second one, so I had two tickers on that day, two losing tickers. It was W. On W, what happened was, I'm going to show you the daily. All right, started crashing as SPY was crashing as well. All right, and then we started to push back up, gap up, and basically we didn't see any pullback from $20 all the way to 130, right? So 500% move. We did need a pullback. So what I wanted was some kind of parabolic or gap down or some kind of weakness, right? So on this day, I believe this one, right, the 28th, exactly, the SPY gap down big time. So what I was expecting is I'm picking the most overextended stock that needs a pullback, and SPY is giving me the opportunity for the big caps to be weak. So that's what I wanted, and I wanted to move off of that. So I started in, all right, I expected some bigger panic. So I thought we could see, that 105 to 110 area. So we had a lot of space from 130, right? So I started in, and then we started pushing, pull back, and then kind of making higher high, right? So I covered some of it, and then it stuffed again. So I added back, it started working, I added, and again, bigger bounce, pull back, higher high, I trimmed again, and then it stuffed. So final attempt, I added, and I got squeezed out again. All right, so 3 trims is for me, I stop out, that counts as 3 tries, and I'm done for the day. That's my rule. So that's exactly what I did. I lost some money on that day, and the next day I basically made back everything and more than that. And I mean, even Monday paid very, very well. And I was up on the week at that point, even after those 2 losses. Because as you know, I keep my wrist tight, and that's how I work. On CAPR on the 29th, which is Wednesday, right? This one, let me show you the chart. CAPR, let's push it a bit to the side, right there. CAPR is a ticker that is known, all right, we traded that one in the past. If you look at it, see the week, if you can see it, again, reverse stock split after reverse stock split. I knew that this one, had a lot of backholders from previous gaps right here, but there wasn't much volume. But in here, at least, we had some volume, and I expected a gap into that kind of area where the previous backholders were, and it moved back down off of that. All right, and I think a lot of the traders did as well. So when we did that, push it over. Let's. Right here. So when we opened, again, same thing, we kind of moved towards $7 pre-market. We pulled back and we started being heavy right away. I started in pre-market and I added into the open and into the push towards VWAP, right? That's where I started in, and I put on some size. I even covered some into the panic, added it back, felt great. But we started to push towards, the high of days. So I added into that, risking off of it. We pushed it, I covered some, and then I started to kind of add back on stuffs. And as it pushed back over, I had to cover as per plan. So I started to add back to kind of trim and to get a better average and maintaining kind of my risk. But as soon as we started pushing even more, kind of putting in a higher high, if you want, I completely cut it, and I knew, all right, my idea was wrong. So I could have cut right here and be done with it, but I kind of gave it a last chance, as I knew a lot of the new accounts, people that don't really know how to research stocks, may be chasing and being wrecked, like on MDGS on Friday. So as we did that, I was fine with it, and I waited. From that point on, I knew, all right, I don't want to be short until I see weakness, and if I see some kind of short squeeze, I might be part of it. So that is the next trade that we saw, all right? So on this one, we saw the shorts getting kind of wrecked here. We saw big volume, and we saw a fair amount of shares being available everywhere. So as we started to build this range and we broke out, I waited a few seconds to see if we would soak or if we would kind of get the liquidity, so the stops, and dump back. But what we saw is every time we tried to get back down to the previous levels, it got bought up. So a lot of shorts were kind of squeezed. Every time we got down, shorts were covering, and then it got up, until, a new base is formed. So started in long, added as it supported the breakout area. We started going parabolic into $9 and $10. I started to sell, and I sold everything over 10.50 towards 11. Almost everything. I had some fills that didn't fill, but as we pulled back and absorbed again at 10, I thought, all right, maybe we're going to see 13. So I started adding back small. I cut that ad, and I bought the first dip, all right, towards the previous support. I thought we might squeeze once more into the close, as everyone was bearish at that point. So I started adding back long, and I cut it as we couldn't hold and push towards 10. And I was done with it. All right, so very nice long trade. I made back, I think, 2 times what I lost on the short side, and I adapted basically to the idea. And I just changed the plan. All right, Tesla now, very nice one. I think Tesla is my biggest win on the week as a ticker itself. Tesla, what happened on that one was right here. We started moving down as the SPY moved down, and we kind of squeezed again the shorts that we squeezed here. We squeezed them as the SPY bounced, and a lot of people were, I think, expecting kind of numbers to be where they were at, and a lot of people still wanted out of their long position as we dropped so far, so fast. Basically, a lot of people were not able to sell. And as you might remember, we also had, I think, an offering on Tesla around that 800 area. As the market was super hot in here, we started doing an offering and we started pushing off of that. So I think those guys were also involved. And what we did is we had earnings and it started gapping up, right? We started gapping up over 800, and I think a lot of people were thinking, all right, now this is going to go to 1,000, 1,500. And I actually started out the day thinking we might squeeze. But what I quickly realized is that the long trade was crowded. So when everyone's on the same side, the big players are going to take advantage of the guys, all right, of all the long players, because that's going to give them liquidity to sell into, right? So as let me pull up the 1 minute. I think we're going to see it better that way. Yeah, right there. So we started to dip, all right? I started buying into here, actually on the long side, and we started ripping towards 870s. And I was thinking 900, 950 as a target, but as we stuffed so hard back to the lows, I actually trimmed some, so I cut some of the long, and I added it back as we got over VWAP. But the thing is, I expected a big squeeze, right? But as we kind of stuffed here and tried running again and stuffed again, I noticed a seller on the table, right? Someone's starting to sell a lot of shares. So every time we tried bouncing, like here, every time we started running, someone sold. Started running, sold. Started running, sold. Over VWAP, sold, right? So someone was I think a lot of people were still trying to kind of long, which is why we saw the wicks, right? Here. So a lot of people thinking, all right, we're gonna make it. But every time we tried making it, we slammed back down. And that's not what you want to see on some kind of short squeeze, right? That's something that you're going to see when people are on the long side crowded, and once the panic sets in, it really starts selling off, which we saw on INO and stuff like that, right? So on this trade, what I did is actually, I think, yeah, right here, that's when it started getting heavy, and kind of building a range, right? So if you want me to draw it, right here, 850 was kind of the line. We started kind of holding that neckline, and as we started getting heavy and heavier, I expected a breakdown where every long would panic out. So that's how I started the short. Started shorting, and as soon as we started breaking, I took some covers. It doesn't look like much, right? But that's all like almost $10, right away. So I took some off because I was getting big in here. And as we started panicking down towards 730, I took everything off, right? Which seemed like a lot at first, but as you saw from the chart, I mean, we got to red, right? So over here. But I took it off. But as I saw it as weak as that, right? I noticed, all right, this is really going to get ugly, I think, if we start selling off more and more. So I waited for the pattern to set up again, right? And that's what I did towards noon, so midday. So what we did is, let's show you here. We started building a range again where we had, so the lows here breached, all right, we held under it again, and right here, we started to try to squeeze back up, right? So we had kind of 810-ish as the lows, all right, after the panic, and we had basically the lows of that swing. Put it right here, 730-ish as kind of the neckline, and 740, of course, as kind of a reclaim area where we would have a higher high, right? So we started grinding up and up and up, but on the tape, some seller was still in it. So every time we broke out, like from that high, broke out, stuff, starts breaking out, stuff, starts breaking out, stuff, right? So we were getting heavier and heavier, and of course, if we started fading in the morning and I saw selling, my direction of choice is going to be the short side, because I want a trend continuation trade, right? So as we got heavier and heavier and broke this kind of trend line, I thought, all right, we might see the lows again, which gave me a nice risk reward. 728 area was my in, 700, 800 and I think 30. I had some with a 30 stop because I wanted a continuation right away, and maybe some at 833. I can't remember exactly, but I started in that way. And as soon as we started, moving back towards the lows, we tested the lows, and again, tries to move stuff, tries to move stuff, tries to move stuff, tries to move stuff, right? So I added into the trade, into the winning trade, covered some into the panic towards the previous close, added back on the pop, added more on the breakdown, and covered everything when we were red under the 800 whole number psychological level, right? A lot of stops are going to be there. I'm expecting some panic and a possible reclaim after that, as we had panicked, $70 from the highs, right? And that was a trade on Tesla. So basically took advantage of the underwriters and the selling and basically all the longs that were on the same side. The next trade I had, this one I was mad about, UAVS, because I had planned a big trade on it. So this one was for me the perfect setup where, they hold it up on some BS news, and when they say conference call out of nowhere, usually 95% of the time it's not going to be good at all. And this one was pumped in a market where every long had no idea what they were doing, right? Just buying into just a PR, right? So I knew a lot of people would be on the wrong side on this one. So we were watching it pre-market on this day. As I knew the conference call would be at 11, right? So 11 a.m. was the area where I knew the time where I knew I want to be in nearly full size, because as soon as the conference call starts, I'm expecting a big dump. So I started ramping up, squeezing some shorts, and then I was looking for locates. I couldn't get any locates. We started, again, conference call starts, it just dumps, right? Because they had nothing basically exactly as expected. But as we opened up back at $1, I knew, all right, now this is something that is kind of crazy, right? Because I'm expecting it to go back to 1, but not within 1 second, right? Because we halted and then we opened up at $1. So I'm still expecting, a lot of the shorts to cover. I'm expecting the longs to kind of be hesitant what to do. Some people will be dip buying, so I'm expecting a bounce on this one, as we basically opened up down 80% or something, right? So I started longing into the 120s, all right, because, the downside wasn't much, and I'm expecting a bigger bounce towards $2, right? And $2 from 120 is almost 100%. So I tried to fill size, but I couldn't fill everything. We started curling, I added some, and as we stuffed, I sold everything just because, we started stuffing a lot. So we started running and we just couldn't make it past those 180 sellers, and I sold everything as we tried pushing and couldn't make it. That was a trade, a nice winner as well, but nothing major. MDGS is one of the last trades of this week. On this one, nice gap stats, all right, fails roughly 75% to 80% of the time. Let me pull it up for you. All right, and this one, what I wanted to do is pre-market, we started fading off. I wanted a pop at the open, so we started so we had kind of a base, $4, $4.50. Pushed towards, $4.50, $5, started shorting into that. We started moving down at the open, and then we had one trap. So I thought, all right, nice, I'm going to get more size into that, and then I expected a fade. But what ended up happening is we dumped, we kind of held, and we started grinding up and grinding up and grinding up towards $5. So what I had to do is actually trim some. So I had size in here near $5. I added bigger into the open, and as we started pushing, again, new highs, higher high, trend change. So I'm at least trimming some. I trimmed some, and as we stuffed, I added more, but then we made it to $5. So at $5, I trimmed some of my size. I think one half, or I think even less than that. I think 1/3 or 1/4. Around there, I started sizing down, because what I was okay with $5 being tested, but you never know if it's going to go 5 to 5.5 and then stuff, or 5 to 5.50, right? And I didn't want to be full size with that much risk. So as soon as we stuffed, we started getting super heavy into 5, and as you can see here, let's pull it even closer here for you guys to see. We tried pushing, couldn't make it. Tried pushing, pushed out the shorts. Basically, that was basically half of that was me covering. Basically, I think into the panic. I had some pretty big orders going through there, but every time we made it past 5, we couldn't make it. And as I was saying, in this market, a lot of new accounts are there, and a lot of people that don't do the due diligence, that don't know what is happening, just longing. Basically, oh, this is up, I'm longing, right? As easy as that, because they don't know about shorting. So as we stopped, we made it back, and then I knew right away we have so many longs playing this stuff, right? As soon as we see weakness and the volume kind of diminishes, the whole volume trading up there is going to be on the wrong side, on the long side, looking for an exit, right? So as soon as we did that and bounced, I knew, all right, big size right away, right? So I got to big size over there. So added bigger size here to full size, everything I could locate. Basically, I took all the locates, I couldn't find any, and throughout the day I looked for more locates. So that's what we got here. We started to test the lows. All right, let's pull it up here. We had the lows right at 380. So as soon as we got to 380, I knew we are heavy. Some people will be dip buying, but eventually I think this one will just crack under the pressure of all the longs that were in here now selling. I mean, look at the volume. We're doing like 500K to 1 million per minute up there, right? And here we're doing 80,000, 70,000, 100,000, 50K, right? So a lot less volume. So per candle like that with 50K, right? We've got one candle of 50, so 500,000. Of longs that are trying to sell into that kind of volume, right? And we just got that huge imbalance where people need out and new buyers are just not there. So I started adding into there, even bigger size, right? And then I started covering into the 320s, right? I couldn't cover everything because just the volume was like a 50,000, 20,000. I had to cover into pieces because otherwise I would have made it bounce. So we moved into there, and then I was waiting for some kind of bounce to add back because I expected it as the gap stats and the stats on the faders are indicating I'm looking for a lower low into the closes, and especially with all the longs bagged, I expected some panic to the close. But again, people are getting in general in the market, people are getting short more and more, and they need to cover. And as the liquidity dries up, some people, a lot of people longing stuff, they're also not gonna panic sell because they are back. They're gonna hold the stock for months, and as soon as the stock is gonna pop up, and pretty much every single stock running now, every crappy stock and that is fading, is going to be a great short in a year, for 6 months, a year, or 2 years, once they pop back, because everyone still has that long trade that they need to sell, right? So as soon as we started popping and we got the 2 waves back to the resistance area here, previous support breaks, becomes resistance, right? I started adding back size, as you can see here. We started popping, so we started to make it back towards support, heavy, and I added more size, right? And I thought we might break down 340, make it back to 3, and I would cover there, but we made it past, we kind of broke the trend higher high, so I covered everything as I could, and basically that whole move was basically me covering my short, right? So I covered everything I could, and I was done with the trade. The last trade I had was on Tesla, a reactive trade off of the Elon Musk tweet, right? So on Tesla, what I expected is usually after a huge fading there, we're going to make it, we're going to kind of move sideways, all right? We're going to trap some people because people missed the short trade, so they're going to kind of chase into it. And Tesla, again, my view is we might go super parabolic over 1,000. So I'm kind of long bias in general, or not long bias, but I'm a short squeeze kind of trader. I like those trades, apart from, of course, the short trade itself. But what I saw in Tesla is In the morning, we started pushing, right? We made it back on the VWAP, and I'm expecting a lot of people kind of to chase, right? It's getting super overextended to the downside, and then we pop back, on bigger volume here. As you can see, we popped VWAP on some volume, and we're kind of, we can't make it past the lows, kind of grinding, and then higher high, kind of the ABCD kind of pattern, kind of a short squeeze pattern. I'm looking basically for the previous close, so the highs as the first target, and then the close. So I'm looking for a long trade on this first, right? So I get long into here, right? I'm adding into here actually for the move up, and then as it moves to VWAP, I'm thinking, all right, this one I'm going to kind of let it go for a few seconds here. I want to see if we can hold and move back up. My average was right around, exactly VWAP. And then right away, I'm looking at the tape, it dumps, all right? And I'm seeing on the tape a lot of selling. So offers, soaking, a lot of selling. And that isn't the normal tape Tesla was doing, right? And as you can see from the volume as well, we're doing, the 30,000 per minute to like 200K right away. I mean, we dumped under VWAP before and we did, 90K. So we're doing some bigger volume. And right away, I'm thinking, is there news? And I see right away Elon was tweeting, right? So he was saying Tesla is too high. And first we were kind of thinking maybe his Twitter got hacked because he got in trouble last year talking about, Tesla with the whole going private thing, 420 price target and stuff, as he was talking with Joe Rogan back then. And now basically I was thinking, all right, he is maybe not going to do that because he's going to get in trouble. So he might have gotten, hacked, because a lot of people are short on this and bent up, so they need a move down to get bailed out. So when he said that, I was expecting kind of a pullback towards here and a possible move back up as he was talking about. So I was out, by the way. As soon as it dumped, I got out of my first long, right? But then I kind of waited, and in here I thought, all right, there may be talking about, him being hacked, and if they really said that, we would have squeezed back towards 760 in my opinion, if not higher, because now shorts are really squeezed, right? But we didn't say that. So I got long here, and as we stopped and moved back down, I completely changed the approach. I was like, all right, this is weird because the Tesla Twitter account is not saying that he got hacked. By now they should have said it. And this could actually get ugly because a lot of people might be thinking the same thing with a dip buy. And as soon as I did that, I got short, right? Here, I got very big, very quick. The liquidity was great. And I was expecting some really momentum type of trade, right? Because as I'm always talking about, I'm looking at the LWAP waves, all right? I'm not looking at one wave. Every single time, it doesn't matter if it's in an uptrend or downtrend, I'm looking for 2 waves because that is the minimum. It doesn't matter if you're in an uptrend or a downtrend. When we see moves, we usually see at least 2, all right? 2 waves, all right? 1, 2. Because every pullback is going to be 2 waves, and every uptrend, so an uptrend would be 3 waves up, 2 waves down. And downtrend would be 3 waves down, 2 waves up. So it doesn't matter if it's an uptrend or downtrend, you can expect 2 waves, especially on the momentum kind of tickers like this and the big caps. So I got short and then covered into the panic, and I thought we might make it back up. So at 700, and a lot of people were dip buying 700, right? Thinking, all right, 700 whole number, this is going to hold. But every time we made it back over 700 and started running, we stopped. So every single person that's getting long is going to have to bail. So as soon as we broke 700, I got short again, and I covered into the panic towards 680. That was the most I was seeing Tesla at. And yeah, it turned out to be the right call. Covered into the panic, didn't want to overstay my welcome. And yeah, huge trade on that one right away. I mean, 730 to 685. So that's basically right. $45 per share, and that can get big pretty fast. And yeah, that was basically my whole week. The most important trades, I would say. So if you guys have any questions, please ask them in the comments or in chat for you guys that are part of the Mad as Money team. And I'll see you during the next video.